Hey everybody, welcome back to Blender 3.3 New Hair Series episode 3. Today we're going to cover the delete and density tools. So let's roll the intro and get started. Alright, so let's quickly recap what we've done. We've covered already the add tool. Now we need to understand how to use the delete tool. Delete tool is really straightforward. I have created a new groom just for this tutorial, and we have here a couple of different grooms added together. Let's go into the modeling mode so that we can see it faster. If you select this groom and we go into the sculpt mode, we have access to the tools. Now we've already added a bunch of hair, but we realize we want to delete something, and the way we can do that is with the delete tool. Pretty straightforward. We have just a couple of settings in the settings menu up here. Once we select the tool, we only have the radius and strength, and like I said before, if you press F you can adjust the radius, and you can press Shift F and click to adjust the strength. This particular tool does not have any pressure sensitivity. It doesn't really have any need for that. It also has this general stroke settings that we've already spoken about, and it has the symmetry settings. Okay, so in case you want to symmetrize, just like add, you can symmetrize, but you need to make sure that your model is actually symmetrical. Let's just delete this. Now I wanna make this creepy looking guy even creepier by deleting his hair. So all I have to do is start deleting like this. We can just really quickly get a certain result. We've got this crazy deleted result. Actually, all the brushes have another setting that I forgot to mention in the add tool, and that is the mode of the brush, including the delete mode. We've been deleting using the sphere mode. And that's a very important change that has happened in Blender 3.3 with the new hair system, is these two different modes. In the old system, we only had this projected mode. Now let's see what happens if I use the sphere mode while I'm looking at the hair groom like this. Okay, if I was to delete this, you can immediately see I'm deleting this section, and it limits it to this sort of spherical radius. Whereas if we were to use the projected mode and start deleting, watch what happens. You can just delete this entire row, because projected is basically projected from view. It just basically says you delete everything from this point of view through the screen, whereas the sphere is a true 3D brush. Only delete wherever this 3D brush is in the 3D space, and the other one is in 2D, projected from view, delete everything. Now projected is kind of annoying and finicky, but it can be helpful in certain situations. If you just want to delete everything like this, you can just use projected, and you can just chop off the extra hair like this. This can be really helpful, but as soon as you start realize that you don't want to impact what's behind, you only want to impact what's visible and what's on the brush side, then you need to use the sphere mode. So this is very important because it also exists for every brush. The add, delete, every brush has this projected mode. Now let's tackle density. Okay, density has a couple of settings here. The first one is again the radius and the strength. On this side we also have the stroke settings, and we have something new called the Falloff setting, and we also have the symmetry setting from before. So you already know what symmetry does, and you already know what the stroke settings do, same as the sculpting settings, and you know what the brush settings, radius and strength, do. If you look on the top bar over here, you have some additional settings as well, which is not given here for some reason, which is the projected and sphere modes. You have this weird looking car symbol, auto mode. There's a sort of setting here which I'll explain. You have this distance mode and this symbol for the distance mode, count max, the fall off settings here as well, and the curve shape is here as well. So let's take a look at what this does. So what the density brush does is it will add density. Now if I just click here, it's just adding hair and increasing the density of this hair. Now first of all, just like the previous brush, it has a strength setting, okay, which we can control and reduce the amount of density being added by decreasing the strength, or increase the amount of density being added by increasing the strength. You can also use the projected mode and the sphere mode, and then you have this car plus symbol and a negative symbol. What does that mean? This is actually the mode. So the car symbol is actually trying to say, if you hover it, this is the auto mode. The auto mode is basically going to add or decrease the density depending. So you have a set density value that you're trying to achieve, and the auto mode will automatically try to increase or decrease to help even out this hair density. Whereas if you were to use the plus symbol, the negative symbol though we'll try to decrease density to achieve the density result. Remember, the add and the decrease they're both trying to achieve a result. How much density do you really want? And then the negative will reduce the density so that it achieves that density goal. So once you achieve the density goal, like, nothing's happening. As you can see, even though I'm reducing the density, literally nothing is happening. And this is because it's based on a goal. So how do you set that goal? How do you set how much density you want? Well, the density is set based on this distance minimum parameter. You see here it says goal distance between the curved roots for the density brush. So this is basically saying, now you can, if you zoom in real close, okay, you can see there's a distance between the root of this hair and this hair. This hair and this hair, this hair and this hair. There's a sort of distance between them. And this is the goal distance. The goal distance here is set to 0, which is really, really small. Basically, it's infinitely small. But if I was to increase this, now you can see that I'm actually reducing hair. I'm still in a negative setting. I'm actually reducing hair because this is the goal setting. Okay, let's reduce this quite a bit. Now it reduces, but now it has a goal. See, 0.001. Even though I scrape over this, it's not reducing any further. And if I was to increase this, you'll see that it's going to increase it until we reach this goal setting. Do you see that? If you go a little slowly. And you can also adjust the maximum count. So this is basically how many times will the hair try to add a new curve. So you can increase this to a crazy amount. 1,000 times it's trying to add a new curve. There is another way to set this density goal, and that's to use this symbol. Okay, if you use this symbol, you can basically draw on the screen. You just click on the screen and you can drag your mouse, and you can see these little white dots, and those white dots represent the distance between the hairs. So this is sort of a visual guide to how you want to set the density. Maybe I want the density to be set this much, automatically sets it this way. And if I was to use auto, for example, yeah, you can see that it's maintaining a certain distance because of this. Auto generally works well because it increases or decreases to achieve the goal, but sometimes you just want to increase to achieve the goal or decrease to achieve the goal. And that's pretty much how you use the density tool for the most part. The last part is Falloff Settings and the curve shape. You already know a little bit about how we use the curve shape from the add tool. It's very similar to the add tool in the sense that it interpolates the length, shape and point count. Now the density is just adding hairs. Now right now you notice that as I add hairs, it's pretty much mimicking the existing hairs, the length, the shape of the hair and the point count. Generally speaking though, density is something that by default all of these settings will be enabled, because the point of density is to increase or decrease density of hair that already exists, so hair that you've already combed into the right position and stuff. So you don't want to change this, but you might want to just adjust individually. And finally we come to the fall off. The fall off is exactly the same as the fall off in sculpting brushes, and it adjusts the fall off of how the brush itself works, how it's gonna. So you can, for example, we can just change it to a sharper setting. In fact, let's do density somewhere here. Okay, if you can see that it's pretty. Let's do a different example. Let's remove the shape and let's add hairs like this. If I were to put hairs this way, basically it's gonna add in the sphere fall off, it's gonna add mostly in the middle and a little bit on the edges. You can see that if you look at it like this. You can see that there's less hairs on the edges and more in the middle. That's because of the spherical fall off. You can also have a sharp fall off. There's much more density in this sort of pointed in the middle, whereas there's a lot less to a greater extent. That's because the fall off is sharp. You can think of it like less on this side, more in the middle, less on the sides. That's the sharp fall off. So you have to think of it like that. And you can make your own custom fall off as well if you'd like. So that's just how the different ways of doing it. So we can try a constant fall off. So here everything is the same everywhere, and that's the fall off settings. And that's all the settings we have for the density and the delete. Nothing more to it than that. Now in the next episode, what we will do is we'll cover the comb and the snake hook and maybe even the shrink tool in one episode. So thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.